Hey Ferret fam, welcome back to the channel. My name is Bryn. I am the Ferret Lady here on YouTube, and thank you for joining me here today. We've got a little bit of a rant video, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts on this subject. I would love to hear from you. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. A reoccurring issue that I see not only in the ferret community, but in animal owning communities in general, is parents getting their children animals without thinking, doing proper research, and either rehoming them shortly after bringing them home, or just keeping them and not providing adequate care for them. And of course this happens with absolutely everyone: teenage owners, senior owners, adult owners. Everyone is guilty of doing this, so I'm not targeting a specific age range or parents in general. But in my community, the ferret community, it seems to be mostly people under the age of 18 with this issue, in which case the parent or the guardian is responsible, because we know that any person that is not considered a legal adult cannot be held financially or physically responsible for the care of an animal. It is all up to that parent or their guardian. You might be thinking, well, Bryn, I'm a kid, I'm under 18. Does that mean that I cannot properly care for my animals? Absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever. I'm just saying that you cannot be held financially or physically responsible if the ferret falls ill or is not being taken care of properly, is not being brought to the vet. It is not a child's fault. Even though I have seen plenty of times parents rehoming ferrets and blaming everything on their kids, saying, my daughter has not been feeding the ferret, I didn't notice that the ferret had a tumor on its tail because my son didn't tell me, etc. And with the holiday season approaching, people are going to be getting ferrets out of the pet store, out of the shelters like crazy, and then bringing them back or rehoming them by the time New Year's comes around. It's a really sad cycle, but we do see it every single year with a bunch of different species of animal. And let me preface this and make it very clear that I completely understand that this is not going to change anytime soon, but I am aware that my videos have helped change people's minds on different topics, so if I can just help a couple different people here and there, that is more than enough for me. This video is not directed towards anyone in particular. I've been planning on making this video for quite a while now, so if you've reached out to me because you've had to rehome your ferret recently because of your parents or whatever, it's not about you. It is just a general message to the ferret community, animal communities in general, and what I've personally experienced, the most common reasons why ferrets are rehomed, and how to prevent it in the future, how to prevent you having to rehome your ferrets if you do get them. So the most popular scenario that I see for ferrets being rehomed by all age groups is that they smell and or they bite too hard. I'm here to tell you and not sugarcoat things that ferrets do bite and they do smell. I talk about this topic a lot in detail in various of my videos here on the channel, so go check those out. But yeah, ferrets definitely do have an odor to them. It can be minimized by feeding them a proper diet, cleaning up after them, and allowing enough exercise. Basically, the better you take care of your ferret, the better they are going to smell, but it is not going to eliminate their odors, and if it bothers you, it's probably going to continue to bother you no matter how better you improve your care for them. And ferrets do bite. You can do a bite training with them, which I have a video on linked above, but they're still gonna nip. That is how they communicate with each other, how they communicate with you. If they are happy, sad, mad, all their emotions, they generally like to communicate via their mouths. So if you do not like nippy animals, ferrets will not be the pet for you. Ferrets have a really strong bite strength, and they can very easily bite off your finger if they really wanted to, so you do have to be really careful, especially around small children. My first recommendation for this is foster ferrets. See how they are before actually committing to keeping them in your home permanently. Try to get the age range that you're most interested in. I recommend the age of 3 and up of ferrets because I find that age range to just be great. I love middle-aged ferrets. I think they are a really good learning experience for new people and people who are experienced with ferrets alike, because sometimes they're bite trained, sometimes they're litter trained, sometimes they're not, but most of the time their biting isn't going to be as bad as a kit would be, a ferret under the age of 1, which everyone wants that age group. But trust me, ferrets act like babies all throughout their life, are just as cute, just as fun, and you're gonna enjoy them just the same. Unfortunately, most parents skip this step, or they are unaware that it exists before getting ferrets, because ferrets are so easy to just walk into the pet store and then walk out with a couple ferrets. It is so easy for anyone to do that. Yes, fostering is an option, not everywhere, but definitely look around before making the commitment. You can also volunteer at shelters that take in ferrets or ferret sanctuaries. That way you can see how it is to administer medications to senior ferrets, how it is to help do bite training and potty training with ferrets. See how they interact with each other, see how you properly cut their nails. A lot can be learned about ferrets through volunteering. If you know someone with ferrets and you can't volunteer or foster, ask if you can hang out with them. Obviously, post germ. See how they are in a household environment, but do keep in mind, ferret care is ever evolving. Your friend may not have the best care for them. Do not base everything that you learn about ferrets on this one person that you're gonna go hang out with, because it may not be up to standards. Do your separate research and you should be fine. Next scenario is the ferrets are getting rehomed because the kids got bored and they don't want them anymore. And this one is just heartbreaking. I mainly want parents to listen to this one because you have to make sure that they are getting fed. You have to make sure that they are getting vet care if they need it. You have to make sure that they are getting enough time out of their cage. Basically, that they're being cared for properly. Do not 100% leave it into the hands of your 6-year-old. I would like to have children of my own someday, and I do want to have animals, but all animals that will be in the household will be ultimately my responsibility, my animals. I love the concept of having kids help take care of animals and help learn the responsibility of caring for them, how to feed them and water them and whatnot, but nothing is going to be tasked solely on them without my 100% supervision. I have heard the most awful stories from ferrets dying because of starvation and dehydration because the kids weren't filling up their bowls or bottles for them. Ferrets being left in a cage every single day, just being forgotten about in the corner of a kid's bedroom. Ferrets with tumors that go unnoticed because the parents aren't checking on the ferret and kids don't know what the heck a tumor is. Basically, kids are not the best animal caretakers. That's just the nature of it because they are kids. Parents, before you bring an animal into the household that you plan on having the kids help take care of, understand that it is 100% still your responsibility. The third one is expense. Ferrets are rehomed at any stage in their life due to expense. The initial price of getting all of your supplies for the ferrets is just one part of it. The bigger part of it and what you're going to be paying for is vet bills. They rack up very quickly because ferrets are considered an exotic pet. It's going to cost more than a dog or a cat. Emergency surgery can often cost $5,000 or more. Make sure that you check out my ferret expenses video link at the top of the screen to learn more about what vet bills look like. I also have a video on how much I spend on ferret food monthly, so check that out as well. So do not get ferrets if you don't have a savings account. Many people recommend at minimum $1,000 saved in there that you do not touch. That isn't your food fund for them or even normal vet bills fund or bedding fund. That is for emergencies only. Another huge reason why, if you're under 18, parents should be financially responsible. If you have a part-time job, it's probably not going to be enough money to cover vet bills. I do believe that the kids should be helping financially pay for certain things, but it's almost impossible to expect like a 13-year-old to be able to pay for a $3,000 surgery. Many times I have seen children come onto my server or just other platforms and say that they had to rehome the ferrets because the parents refused to pay for a vet procedure. They refused to bring them to the vet just all together, and it's just really, really sad to see. I have also seen a lot of children try and skirt around the fact that ferrets are expensive and they won't properly tell the parents first before they get them that, hey, yeah, ferrets are kind of really expensive, so are you okay if you pay for most things? Obviously, parents should be doing their research before getting any animal, but that's not always the case. Another common scenario is the family is moving and they cannot take the ferrets. Obviously, this one is complex, has a lot of factors. Moving isn't always voluntary. However, most of the situations that I've personally witnessed, it kind of seems like the person isn't doing everything in their power to make sure that they can keep the ferrets, which that's just an assumption. Obviously, not everyone is like that. It is just something that I have personally picked up on. Rehoming is very stressful on the ferrets, especially if you've had them for a while. They're older, they have special needs. It can be really hard for them. Always have a backup plan. I will always have a solid support system of friends that would be able to care for my ferrets in the situation that I couldn't. I have a family back home who can take care of my ferrets if I can't for any reason. Obviously, not everyone is going to have a support system, in which case rehoming is probably the best decision. My point is just try your very best, especially if you have senior ferrets or special needs ferrets. They did not ask to be a part of your family, so the very least that you can do is make sure that they end up somewhere safe. There are also shelters, sanctuaries, and vet offices that would be willing to care for your ferrets short term while you get back up on your feet, or so that you can actually find proper arrangements for them. Number 5, parents realize that ferrets are not low maintenance animals. This is a super common one because of the way that ferrets are marketed. They're kind of marketed like rodents are. Not to say that rodents are low maintenance, but see them with these colorful plastic cages and the water bottles and the pellet food, all that stuff. But in reality, ferrets are very similar to cats and dogs, and they should be treated as such. Absolutely need lots of time out of their cage, and I'm talking about the bulk of the day and the bulk of the night. If you cannot provide this for them, you should not have ferrets. The only thing I can suggest to avoid this situation is to get a better idea of how ferrets are in the home, you know, the truth of actually owning ferrets, because you can Google things and say, are ferrets good pets? And of course it's going to say, yes, they're good. Yes, they don't actually smell bad. You're gonna see the things that you want to see. For example, you can join my Discord server if you are over 15, and we will give it to you straight. Owning ferrets is not easy. Number 6, another super sad one, and it's the ferrets got old. They didn't want to care for them anymore. They have special needs, and it is really sad because, again, ferrets, as they get older, as they get special needs, it's going to be much harder for them to rehome them, especially, and you shouldn't do this, is separating them from your current business. Ferrets grow very attached. They're very social animals. They love their little group of friends, and taking them out of everything that they know while they're old, they might have lost their hearing or their sight. It's going to be very, very tough on them. So if you do this, which I do not suggest that you rehome a senior ferret taking them out of your current business, because that's just cruel. If you have to rehome a senior ferret because stuff happens, just spend a lot of time making sure that where they're going to understands the ferret's care. It's probably best to go through a sanctuary or a shelter that is experienced with ferrets with special needs or senior ferrets. And please do keep in mind that stress worsens pretty much everything. It can actually aggravate and trigger diseases that you didn't even know existed in that ferret. And to go along with the last one, this one happens quite a bit as well, and it's when parents or whoever get ferrets later realize that they have insulinoma or lymphoma or something serious, and then they don't want to deal with that, which I can kind of understand. But also, you should be completely prepared before getting animals to care for them. The odds of something going wrong with your ferrets, especially if they were poorly bred or they had a bad upbringing, it's gonna be pretty high, so you do have to be prepared for that, as sad as it is. Number 8, the family is too busy for the ferrets. I don't necessarily find this to be super bad because things happen, people's lives change, especially during this time. However, again, like I said before getting animals, you should consider all of these scenarios. They are possible with absolutely everyone. And if right now things are really hectic, you're off at college or whatever, rehoming is probably a good option for you. Just again, make sure that they're going somewhere good, or that you're teaming up with a shelter or a sanctuary, because it isn't fair, no matter how good of care you're giving them, no matter how nice you are to them when you're home or how well you feed them, if they're not getting enough attention just in general, it's not really the nicest thing to have them put up with it just because you want them and you don't want to have to rehome them. Some considerations I want children to think about before getting ferrets. I have unfortunately witnessed ferrets that have passed away at very young ages simply due to the fact that the parents didn't want to pay a couple $1,000s to save their life with a surgery, and that's really difficult to see. Believe it or not, the vet cannot force people to pay for a procedure. They won't be like, well, this is really going to save the ferret's life, so I'm going to do this procedure whether you like it or not because I want to save them. That's not how it works. They can't legally do that, which really sucks. Another huge reason why I am not a vet, because I don't think I would be able to handle people coming in and refusing to pay for crucial treatments that would either extend or make the animal live. And it's not only going to be you and me, the person that you tell and involve, who's going to be hurt. It's going to be if you have other ferrets, you know, if your ferret passes away because they couldn't get the treatment that they needed, that is considered animal neglect and animal cruelty, by the way. It's going to be hard on the ferrets as well because, again, they grow such strong bonds with each other. They can go into mourning. They can even starve themselves from being depressed. Many times where people have reached out to me with all of these situations just over the years, and it breaks my heart every single time. You guys have no idea. You guys come into my DMs and drop these bombs on me like, my ferret just died of a broken leg because my parents wouldn't take it to the vet. Like, that affects me more than you even know. Like, I lose sleep over this. It's actually a huge reason why I don't answer my DMs anymore, and I don't really look at my YouTube comment section either, because they're still there. I just can't deal with it anymore. I cannot personally involve myself anymore, because no matter how many times I like to say to myself, you can help this ferret, Bryn, it doesn't always happen, and it really affects me negatively. So please just think before you act. Just because your birthday or Christmas is coming up doesn't mean that you have to get what you want. Parents, please be parents first before you're a best friend. I know it probably feels so rewarding to get your kids something that they've been asking for, but you don't have to. This is a living, breathing animal. It's not a Barbie doll or a plush toy or whatever. It's a real living animal with feelings that needs to be cared for, that is very expensive, that bites, that smells. It's gonna be around for quite a few years. I do want to say though, a big thank you to the kids who have commented and said, I wanted a ferret, but then I watched your videos and realized that they were a lot more work than I had planned. And I just don't think that I'm responsible right now to take care of them. I love seeing messages like that. I think that that really shows how awesome of a future pet parent you're gonna be. It is so responsible, and I really like to applaud whoever raised them in my head, because that's a big thing to admit that you're not ready or prepared for an animal, but it's definitely something that needs to be normalized and okay for people to say. A big part of this channel and my message is to better educate the newer generations, the younger generations, on how to care for animals and how to advocate for them. Really happy to all of you guys who have subscribed and left such kind messages, and thank you to everyone who has joined the channel. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.